Magali Ortiz TV. Noticias, reportajes, farándula y mucho más. Síguenos en nuestras redes sociales.
It's a very important function that we have in society here to be able to help people resolve issues that they've had between them that they've been unable to resolve.
Council, I'll just ask you to speak a little louder. We're all wearing masks and we're a bit muffled. We have George all the way in the back of the room.
Sure, no problem. We have a case where plaintiff worked for the defendant for close to 20 years. Without one complaint against her. The testimony and the evidence in this trial will show that during these years, the defendants, S3XUAL and Mr. Pedro Rivera, systematically stole wages, and Mr. Pedro Rivera himself sexually harassed an employee. My client, the plaintiff in this case, Maria Avalos. Testimony will show that Ms. Avalos did what anyone should do when experiencing such a life-changing incident. She reported to her supervisor, Marco Galvin. Not only was there no investigation done, and no consequences for Mr. Rivera, who, as the evidence will show, is the owner of the company, S3XUAL. But after Ms. Avalos came forward with her story, she was attacked in the press, and her life was upended. As everyone likely knows, and as the judge will instruct after the close of evidence, there are laws that govern almost everything we do, including our employment. There's some general expectations about what work should be like, that we have ourselves. But the state of California has its own set of rules of what work must be like for employees. In general, the rules say that people must be paid fairly for the work that they do. And they shouldn't have to deal with anything at work like harassment or retaliation. And why do we need these rules against harassment? Against wage theft? Because these things really do happen. And people who start businesses need to follow these rules to ensure that they do not exploit the very people who work for them to make their businesses successful. A defendant who breaks these rules is a person who could hurt anybody that works for them. And enforcing the rules against him protects the whole community from this type of behavior. Here in this case, there was a requirement that the defendant, a business here in California, pay its employees wages and keep an accurate accounting of the hours worked by their employees. The evidence will show that S3XUAL violated this duty because there were no timekeeping records. Here, the evidence will show, and the testimony will show, that despite requirements in this state that employers take steps to prevent harassment and discrimination of their employees, that S3XUAL not only ignored them, but engaged in sexual harassment against Mrs. Avalos through its owner, Mr. Rivera. Ms. Avalos will also discuss in detail how she was forced to endure incidents of unwelcome touching that affected her in a deeply negative way. I want to tell you a little bit more about the plaintiff, the victim. She has a name. Her name is Maria Avalos. Her friends call her Fabi.
Call her
Fabi. She's a wife, she's a mother, she's a grandmother, she's a friend to people, and she is a daughter. Mrs. Avalos will tell you in her testimony that she wants to get back to a normal life. And she will discuss with you her wishes. A day that she isn't reminded that she was treated like a disposable person by someone who she had worked diligently for almost 2 decades. Mrs. Avalos will tell you she wants to forget the sex.
Recess for 3 minutes. Please don't leave. Feel free to stand up and stretch.
31, 30, 28, and 16. The 16-year-old, I raised her.
And do any of your kids have children, or your grandmother?
Yes. I have 3 grandchildren. My oldest daughter has 2 boys, a boy and a girl, and my son has a girl.
So does everybody live here near you in Southern California?
¿Todos viven aquí en el sur de California? Yes.
And when did you start working at a company called Cintas Aquarium?
¿Cuándo empezó a trabajar para la compañía Cintas Aquarium? May 2001.
And can you tell us how you came to work there?
¿Y me puede decir cómo es que empezó a trabajar ahí? My husband started working with Juan Rivera, Pedro's son, as a personal assistant and photographer. And he used to travel a lot, so he didn't go to Stockholm very much.
Entonces él me dijo que Juan le dijo que mejor nos viniera a vivir para acá y él me podía dar trabajo.
So he told me that Juan told him that we should move here and that he could offer me work and I could work here.
Okay, so you moved down to Southern California partly at the request of the family?
Cambiaron a Southern California por petición de la familia. Yes.
And what was your first job when you were working here in Southern California?
¿Y cuál fue su primer trabajo cuando usted empezó a trabajar en el sur de California?
Asistente de Juan Rivera.
Juan Rivera's assistant.
And so how did you make the transition over to Cintas?
¿Y cómo hizo la transición?
Si te gustó este video, suscríbete a nuestro canal Magali Ortiz TV y dale click a la campanita con todo lo mejor sobre chismes del espectáculo, farándula y muchísimo más. No lo olvides, comparte este video y suscríbete. Magali Ortiz TV.